there, I have all that. I've been recording ever since I had the camera in like April 2005.
It still works.
Oh, it still works.
Wow.
I got every single tapes, and I have the computer to like download everything.
Yeah.
Except that back in the earthquake 2 years ago, fucking the screen took a shit. But anyways, fucking shaboom!
Shaboom.
We're here.
You're here.
Legendary Mercy.
Legendary
Mercy
Enzo.
there. Fucking
My friend.
Thanks for being here, man.
Dude, it's a pleasure.
Cheers, brother. Man, the legendary Mercy, you've been in a lot of fucking bands, man. You've been in a lot more bands than I have in the past.
I've been in a fuckload of bands.
Dude, I think you also have gone through like a lot of phases,
Yes.
like through all those bands when it's not just playing in a band, but it's kind of like a phase as well, right? Because every band was so different from
Yeah.
from
I've always been pretty, what's the word, eclectic,
right.
I think, maybe, musically, and that kind of transferred over to me being in lots of different bands of different genres. They all kind of centered around punk music, you know,
Right.
that we grew up listening to, and the stuff on the radio.
Get your microphone closer.
And the stuff on the radio as
Yeah,
well.
there you go. You can send it.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, man. When I first met you, we were back in high school.
I think we were both seniors or juniors.
I was a senior in 2005. Were you a senior in 2005?
I was too, but then I didn't graduate till 06. So we were in the same class, but then I ended up
Okay.
staying an extra year.
Okay, just because it's so much fun being a senior.
Yeah, it was great. I
couldn't
loved
let
it
it
so
go.
much. Stay in school longer, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Shit, I was supposed to graduate or like a half a year early, but I was like, what am I gonna do? So I just kept going to school like
Work.
a full day.
Work and die.
No, because come to find out that once you step on the world of like working, not going to school, that's it, man. There's no going back.
Doesn't it change music too?
Yeah, pretty much, man. It's like if there's a thing that I reminisce from like my from being young and back in high school is how much time I would spend on music, thinking about music, practicing music, obsessed with music and getting better.
Mm-hmm. Playing guitar hours every Saturday, Sunday when you're off school.
Once you have a job, it's not like school. When you went to school, school is high school. Well,
it's easy.
In
It
the
doesn't
United
require
States,
a lot.
it's so easy, dude.
I would argue. I don't know what it's like anywhere else in the world.
It's fucking
but
hardcore down in
I
Colombia.
hardly put out any effort,
Right.
and I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So
I got lazy. Like when I got here, I only had to do. I got here in December 2001.
so you're what, like 17, 16?
I don't know. I did graduate at 19 because back in Colombia I did fail a course, and down there they don't just pass you to the next one like here. Here they'll keep you on as a senior. They'll keep you on 12th grade.
Yes.
Down there, if you fail 4th grade, you're in 4th grade until you pass. And
Oh.
you'll have to repeat an entire year. Yeah, here that only happens once you get to the end, which is 12th grade.
12th
but
grade, yeah.
down there, like if you fail by one, like by math, that's it.
You're stuck in that.
You
grade
pass
again.
everything else. By math, you couldn't pass the final. You lost the entire year.
Whoa.
And that happened to me. I'm terrible at math, dude.
You are?
Which ironically, I'm a carpenter.
Well, maybe it's one of those things where like doing it, because like when you, so I went to college recently for a little while.
Yeah.
And turns out I'm really good at math, and I didn't realize it. But the reason being is because when you apply it, it's different than the theory of it, right?
Right.
So the application of it, obviously, you do well. Otherwise, you wouldn't have your job.
Correct. Yeah, you can.
I know what you mean.
You can measure it, cut it, and see it happen.
Right
Like
there.
if you measure
It's
that,
visual.
then you go to that piece of 2x4 and you cut it exactly what you measured, and
Exactly.
it works every time.
Exactly.
So that's why I love carpentry. You can see what you create. That's kind of how music is. You can hear what everything you're practicing. You can hear the progression, especially if you record it. You listen to stuff when you first start playing music. You thought it was amazing, and if you show me anything that I did back in 2000, even 5, I just like cringe. I'm like, oh no, stop it. Please stop playing that. But you know, it's cute too. It's like I remember I used to think that was the coolest riff ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like
I got a lot of those.
I used to get super into that riff, and now I think back and it's like it wasn't that cool. But back then it's like a different time of our lives, you know.
I was super obsessed with Atreyu in high school.
Really?
And I can't even listen to that band now because the riffs are so bad. But back then, I thought they were the penultimate.
Absolutely.
These are the best riffs ever. So I can only go back and imagine what I would think about something I created then, because like you said, it's all about building. And so if your building blocks get like better and you build more and you fail more, then you write better songs. And so it's hard to go back and go, oh, like that's so clunky or whatever.
I mean, but you can still look at those riffs, and there was a lot too. I mean, it's kind of like when I first started playing guitar, and people used to bash on Nirvana, and they still do to this day, which is fine.
It's fine. They can do that. They can be wrong. It's okay.
It's like, I understand why you think he sucks, man. I totally get it. Like, oh, anybody can play that.
But sucking's subjective, right?
I'm like, right, anybody can play that, yet nobody did it. The way that he did it and put it all together with his voice, with his lyrics.
The songs themselves.
It's not just a simple progression riff or progression chord. There's so much behind it. So like bands like Atreyu, yeah, exactly. I used to look at those bands back then, and since I was into Lamb of God,
you were into good metal then. Yeah,
Shadows Fall, I would be like, oh, I don't want to listen to the garbage. But I mean, I can now, with the experience, and now that I'm old as shit, it's like, well, like.
You can see how a person might get into that.
Yeah. Absolutely, because they did write catchy riffs, and that's what gets you, And
it was also the antithesis, or not the antithesis. That's the totally wrong word. It was the alternative. Like for me, because like I do love metal, I'm a total metalhead as much as other music I'm into, but I could see why a young person, a young Enzo, young anybody would you're already into Slayer, Metallica, Pantera, Shadows Fall, the newer iterations of good metal, and so you're presented with this band that's really, in the case of Atreyu. Nothing against Atreyu, it's still a great band, but like that it's trendy or it's so.
Oh, it's whatever.
So for me, that's where I got sucked in because it was essentially death metal light.
God, you remember 2005, 2006? Every band wanted to be 36.
Here,
every
for sure.
Band wanted, up here, of course. Down the States, different story.
They were the best example we had of an aggressive, angry band that could do that.
My God, and they were. I mean, the Snowcap Romans just.
Amazing record. Perfect album. You guys made a perfect album.
Every song is amazing.
I learned that record by ear, and Bitterness. That's like how I learned pinch harmonics.
Yeah.
Because of Steve Holt. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. To me, it was Zach Wilde, but yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, Zach's a good one, too.
Yeah. Royce Hendrickson used to call me Pinchy. Because like once I learned pinch harmonics, I did
all the time.
All I did.
Speaking of that, and Zach Wilde, actually, Cody Deshawn, who's in Heel, right? He was the second guitar.
Cody, yeah.
He was the other guitar player. I'm the second because we were both first guitar or whatever. But Cody played guitar in 12 O'Clock High, which is a later band I was in that we played a lot of shows together. And Cody and I would do these contests to see who could Zach Wilde the hardest with our songs. So we would attempt
sustain a pinch harmonic the longest.
That, and the goal was to play as many notes as possible in the 12 O'Clock High songs with pinch harmonics. So just imagine that riff, The Warrior, bump, whap, 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 just all pinch harmonics. So, and that was always an homage to Zach because.
But here, let's go back to the beginning. So you mentioned 12 O'Clock High, but of course you started with so many bands in
first band. Before
we get to the first one, like when did you start playing guitar? What makes you think? I want to try that. Was it an accident, or you seek out for it, or
it kind of was a weird accident? So I'm gonna put my keys down. So when I was very, very young, we're gonna start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I was like 2 or 3, and my mom loves music, and she never got a chance to be a musician or get into art and stuff like that. She always had to work, but it was always around. We listened to lots of like Pink Floyd. AC/DC.
So you were around good shit since you were
I was around
little.
Good shit, but also my mom got me into pop music, country, things like that. So me as a musician, as a kid, I was obsessed with singing along to Garth Brooks.
Who says a country?
Country, yeah. So I came up doing that, and so I was forced to go to church as a kid a lot. So once they figured out that I could sing really well, then it was the fast track to church choir, which was absolutely fucking miserable.
Did you take choir back in high school?
Livingston tried to get me to do it. I wouldn't do it. Only because I'll sing and I'll sing corny shit. I don't care. I love to sing, but
Miss Livingston was our old guitar teacher in high school.
Great lady.
Back in Diamond High School.
Great lady. Thanks. And so she wanted me to join. The only reason why I didn't because of the cummerbund. I couldn't do the cummerbund.
What's that?
That stupid thing that they have to wear over that.
Oh, okay. I know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do the cummerbund. It just that was my that was my thing. But so, anyways, so I've always been a vocalist first.
So if it wasn't for wardrobe,
if it wasn't for the wardrobe, I might still be doing some stupid acapella doo-wop shit. No, I got really into singing, and I'd sing to everything. I got super obsessed with Blink-182 when I was, I think, 12 or 13. I would sneak MTV when my mom wasn't home, and I would sneak the radio in the morning, just whatever I could do. And so when I think it was my freshman year in high school, so it was like October 2001, my mom and I went to Costco right after we got permanent funds. And so usually, because I grew up pretty poor, most of that would go to bills, but I saw a Yamaha guitar pack.
Did you grow up in Anchorage?
Yeah.
Okay.
We moved here when I was 10. I'm from Eastern Washington.
Okay.
Originally, but I grew up here. So yeah, so
that's kind of how I feel. I got here when I was like 14, 15. It's like I'm pretty much from
you
here.
grew up here. This place makes you Alaskan. Yeah. There's no denying that. So at Costco, I saw this black Yamaha Strat looking guitar pack with a guitar amp and a tuner and all the crappy things that comes with it. And
you and I probably have the same exact beginner guitar.
Probably like Yamaha.
It looks like a Strat.
YC 112 or whatever.
Did it have 12 frets? I think mine doesn't have 12 frets. It's got 11 frets.
Mine was an electric.
Yeah, electric.
Oh, was it? It had like 22.
So 22, so 21 frets.
I think it had 21 maybe.
I think those cheap like Walmart and Costco ones, like some of them don't even have 22 frets.
Like maybe like 19 or something.
I don't know. I think I remember that my Yamaha.
It was a piece of shit guitar. Yeah. And I was so young then, like, because, I'm a guitar tech and shit, and I've been practicing for a long time, and so my understanding of guitars is a lot different now. So anyways, then that one, I ended up putting acoustic strings on it, and it had a trem. So it sucked the trem out of the cavity.
Just fucking pulled the fucker out.
And the fucking strings are like this high off the fretboard. And
did you know, like, why the fuck was that happened?
I had no idea. I had no fucking clue.
Dude, it's like my first guitar with Floyd Rose.
Man.
I had no idea. When I changed the gauge of the strings and shit.
And you're like, why doesn't my guitar work?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I get that all the time at my job. I saw that guitar and I loved music, and it something that already I knew was a part of me, and so I wanted to play guitar. I thought I liked it. I actually originally wanted to play drums, but my mom was like...
Who the fuck doesn't, dude?
Right?
When you're a kid, dude, it's like everybody wants to be a drummer, dude, because it just looks like the funniest shit. Now as an adult, fuck all that shit.
Well, you have kids,
That's true too, but dude, like I get in this drum set here for like a minute, and it's like,
oh, it's tiring.
Okay, Brian.
Well, yeah, but we're old.
You're gonna have it back.
We're old, But I saw that guitar, and it was a no-brainer. And so at that point, I was like super into Nirvana, Blink-182, Linkin Park. Wasn't really allowed to be on the internet much, so the music that I had around me on the radio and stuff was kind of what I went towards, and I don't know, I sucked really, really bad. I couldn't tune it.
What? You weren't amazing right off the bat?
I know, right? It's like you should just be good at something if it's your talent. People out there, you see me play guitar and you think, oh.
That's when people share those videos with me, like, dude, check out this 5-year-old just ripping Slayer. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. It makes me angry.
It just makes me sad for the kid.
Why that couldn't have been me? That should have been me.
But yeah, I got the big breakout for me on guitar was actually System of a Down's Toxicity.
Really?
I got the book, the tab book. Remember when they used to have tab books?
Yeah. I used to go to Mammoth and buy the tab book.
It was at Sam Goody, of all places, in the Diamond Center right next to Bosco's back in the day. And so they had a Hybrid Theory Linkin Park book, and they had Toxicity by System of a Down. And so the Hybrid Theory
what year
book,
is this? Like,
this is
around?
2001. This is the same time.
Okay.
This is like right after, I think, actually my buddy Eric Anderson, shout out to Eric, buddy at Guitar Center now that works there. He kind of was like a big, he was like my first like guitar buddy or whatever, and so he taught me how to read tabs and stuff, and so those books had tabs in them. So I tried to learn a bunch of Linkin Park, but it turns out Linkin Park guitar is not as involved as it sounds like in their music.
Yeah.
Well, on the other hand, System of a Down was a guitar band.
It's all guitar.
Yeah.
And it was, dude, like, how awesome was it when you discovered Drop C?
Oh, dude.
Dude, System of a Down, it was like the perfect album. Both of them did. Self-titled and Toxicity.
And it came out when we were like 14, 15, you know.
Yeah, it did.
I think you might have been 15. You're older than me.
I was in Colombia, and we didn't have a lot of exposure to System of a Down, but like towards the end, right before I flew up here, we had a kind of like a music channel. Definitely not like MTV, but if you wanted to listen to like Blink, The Offspring, and System of a Down, like watch those music videos, you had to wait till like 1 in the morning, and that's when they would play them. So I would stay up to 1 in the morning.
Like on music TV in Colombia.
Yeah.
And you're from Bogota, right?
Yeah. So they would play, salsa music videos, every Latin music video all day.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to watch those, you had to wait till like 1 in the morning, and they would play some of them.
Oh shit!
So like I would record them and then watch them.
So you must have started playing guitar when you lived in.
I started in 2000, at the end of 2003 or 2002. December 2002. My stepbrother Steven. You remember Steven?
Of course I do. He's also a great musician.
Yeah, I mean he's a great fucker, man. It's like anything he picked up.
He was so talented.
Just became amazing.
Super chill, too.
Skateboarding.
I remember him being I remember him being a really fucking good skateboarder, dude.
Skateboarding.
And totally unassuming.
Drums.
He didn't dress the part. He didn't act the part.
Yeah.
That dude was chill.
The crew that he hung out with, he was just did not fit on that crew. Like, he didn't look the part, but he was just, he's just such a good dude. But, at the end of 2002, December, he moved with us up here to Alaska because he's from Hawaii, and he gave, he brought his guitar, his Yamaha combo.
So that's how you got into it.
Yeah,
because of
and
Steve.
He started showing me how to play guitar, and at the time I didn't know, I've never played an electric guitar before, never seen one in person. I've seen it on music videos, and when he brought his, I thought it was the coolest fucking thing ever. And he started.
Remember what kind of guitar it was?
It was a Yamaha combo rig.
Oh, just probably the same one that I had.
That's what I'm saying. You and I probably have the same exact guitar right now.
So
dude.
You thought it was cool?
Oh, dude, I thought when he showed me how to play Enter Sandman, and I was balls deep into Metallica, I couldn't. I mean, I know that sounds silly here because in the United States it's like it's so normal, but at that time, and from a kid coming from Colombia,
yeah, long way away,
seeing being a fan of Metallica, but then seeing someone play the riff and sounding like it.
Yes.
The fact that you could reproduce
it makes you realize you could do it. Maybe you could do that. Yeah,
I was like, "What? You playing Enter Sandman?"
First time I saw somebody play "Good Riddance" by Green Day, that's like oddly enough that song did the same thing for me. I was just like, "Wait, what?" Like that's like it's literally like the easiest chords on the planet.
Oh, when you play along, it's like.
Yeah.
That's
so like you had that in front of you, which I think is really cool. I'm an only child, so the exposure that I got to music was actually in school. That's to metal, rock, whatever, because we're rock and rollers, right?
Right.
That's,
I don't know what the fuck I am, dude. I listen to rap. I've been listening to rap a lot I
love hip hop
this year.
I'm a huge hip hop fan. Jazz, classical. Yeah. I've been getting to a lot of pop. The Weekend record that dropped this year is perfect fucking album, and it's like it's fun. It feels good. So I'm there with you. I've
been listening to this rapper Logic.
Logic's great.
He's amazing, dude. Mm-hmm. But anyways, go ahead.
Oh, so I think what I was just talking about is trying to get, because you asked me how I started. So it's like kind of like, I think we maybe lived a few blocks away from each other and never met until high school.
Maybe. I don't know where you lived.
I lived where did you live? Cause
Raspberry and Jewel Lake.
Yeah, so I lived like
right across the street from Tasty Freeze.
Cranberry and 69th.
Okay, yeah.
So like not very far away.
Like 10 blocks if any.
Maybe. Yeah. And so like the reason why I asked is because I find it interesting because we probably both started around the same time.
No, and it's so funny that your story is like, I'm like, dude, like we probably have the same guitar and like System of a Down.
Yep.
It's so funny, man. Like when I first seen you in high school, I mean, you're a big guy.
Yeah, still.
You're like this big guy.
I think even then I was like similar size. I wasn't much smaller than I am now. Height or weight.
But what threw me off back then was the band that you were playing with.
When I was playing pop punk and emo, like real emo.
Was that your first band, Greenbelt Drive?
Okay, so Greenbelt Drive was my first band, but I played bass in Greenbelt.
Mm-hmm.
So I played guitar, and I really wanted to be in a band, and so I think I met Scott Bell in guitar class, I think second period sophomore year. It would have been 2002, and shout out to Scott Bell. And
shout out to Scott Bell. Last time I saw him was at Coots. I forgot what concert was, but
he'll probably watch this. He's in town and everything. So Scott, I'm like playing guitar, and I think I'm hot shit because this is sophomore year. I've been playing for a year, you know. I think I'm special, even though I couldn't tune my guitar for like 6 months of that year. And
hilarious. You sound just like me back then. Exactly. I've only been playing for a year and a half, and I thought I was.
Oh, dude, I have a big ego, and I've always been very competitive, and so. I just hide it, but so Scott, I'm playing like a Nirvana riff, maybe like Polly or something, and because when I first started playing, for me it wasn't about being good at guitar solos or anything like that. I didn't care. I wanted to play and sing because I'm a vocalist, right? I've always been a vocalist first, so that's why I wasn't super into shredding back then. So, anyways, Scott, being the snarky fuck that he is and was and whatever, was totally correct. But I'm playing and he's like, "Dude, you're out of tune," and I'm like. Whatever, man. No, I'm not.
Such a smug motherfucker.
I know how to tune. Well, dude, I was way out of tune.
Look, like now we can say that I can give him so much respect because again I grew up and I was like, you know what, the kid, had some talent. I get it that he was kind of a smug fucking kid, but fuck, when I was in high school, I fucking hated this kid, but I didn't know him. Yeah, I just didn't know him.
Scott was naturally talented in ways. He was way better than I was at guitar then. But that's what propelled me because, again, like, I'm a very competitive person. Like, not even in an outward sense. I'm in an inward sense. Like, I don't care if you're, Steve Vai or someone first started playing guitar. When I was younger, I didn't have a lot of control over it, and so I was very competitive. And so when Scott did that, I stepped up. And so in the end, like, him and I hit it off, basically, because for whatever reason, we related and we liked the same kind of music, which was basically Blink-182. And so that started that first band, which was Greenbelt. But I didn't want to play bass. I wanted to be in a band. So we would play 4 or 5 days a week.
Wes was the other guitar player.
Wes played guitar and sang.
He sang
Scott played guitar and sang. And then Morgan Welch ended up joining right before I did.
Right.
Shout out to Morgan too. What's up, buddy?
Morgan. Oh, that's right, Morgan.
Best drummer in Diamond.
Hands down.
Yep.
I think
he would never admit it back then.
I think Steve's is close second.
Steve was up there. I think Kyle Rowe was very good.
I think he was just so he was like a professional.
He was very
He was
good.
like having a professional drummer.
So, funny story about Morgan, actually, before I ever played music with him. I made friends with Morgan through a dude named Lee McKnight, who lived down the road from me by Campbell Lake. And Morgan he hung out with kind of hockey bro guys and stuff like that. But Morgan was, very, very talented, smart guy and still is. He's an engineer and shit. But Morgan, I think, Scott and Wes and everybody, they definitely had a big impact on me. But I think, I'll never forget the first time I saw Morgan play drums, rock drums, not jazz band, because he was in jazz band and shit. But he played Smells Like Teen Spirit perfectly. Boom, da, 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 with the ghost notes and everything. And I was just even back then, I was oh shit, this dude's really good. But the problem was that he was so good. So he got bored easy. So in Greenbelt, a lot of the time we'd be trying to write songs or whatever, and it ended up being me, Scott, and Morgan making fun of Wes the whole time or something because we were young and stupid, but we get bored and so after a while, being in Greenbelt, stuff didn't work out. I think there was some drama because I was young and stupid and did some stupid stuff. But
I don't know, man. I watched some of the drama happen on stage. It was pretty hilarious. One time I guess you were borrowing Scott's shades, and then when you guys started the first song, you like kind of like threw him out because they were bothering you, and like at the end of that song, Scott was like, "What the fuck, man?" And he's like, "Dude, like you were in front of everybody, looking like a whiny fucking bitch."
I don't even remember that. I
have it on video.
Really? Oh, that's so fucking funny.
I mean, I don't mean to throw any shade to Scott. By the way, this is just stories.
Hopefully, that we know that it's stories.
Yeah, this is just what I remember seeing. Like I mean.
Dude, we were so competitive then. Like
we were, man.
Like, I mean, just all us of us alone. I was competitive with you. I would argue that we were like nemesis for all of us. Time.
I think we would be like, "What's up?" But he's like, "This motherfucker." It's like I knew how good you were, and I knew that your skills weren't being displayed in Greenbelt Drive until like you play in Nudie Magazine Day, and then
it kind of got a little bit better. There was more metal influence there, though.
Even on Greenbelt Drive, in between songs or like warm ups, like I'll hear you play guitar, and that's when I was like, this guy is really fucking good, man. Like you were fucking.
I was super into I was super into heavy, aggressive music. Like that's what I was into then. But
you remember we used to get into arguments who was better, Lamb of God or Shadows Fall. I was Team Shadows Fall like forever.
I would still argue. Okay, so we have to talk about specific albums then, because so The War Within was the big Shadows Fall album for us.
Well, I think The Art of Balance was better, but The War Within is amazing. I mean, that's what got
The Art of Balance was their first big record, right?
I think with One Blood was the first.
Okay, so it was their second record.
So yeah,
but the War Within, the production was really good.
I mean, that's where he got Jason Bitter got Drummer of the Year, and I mean they got all sorts of awards.
Dude, they had a really cool DVD that came with that record that I got when I bought it at Best Buy back in the day. And they had him recording Blinded by Light, I think the first track.
Well, they put out a DVD called The Art of Touring and it was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Especially it was garbage because Lamb of God's Philadelphia was the best fucking live
Philadelphia, man, that's like, I don't know if it's that Doug Spangelberg guy that did the Every Time I Die one and a couple others, but the way that they laid that out was cool because it was like live, really well recorded live footage, like actual music footage, but then also the antics, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of set the bar in a lot of ways, especially for metal bands.
Yeah, and I think Shadows Fall had already announced The Art of Touring, and when Philadelphia came out, like it just got pushed and pushed, and I think they tried to do something like that. It just didn't come.
Lamb of God also,
didn't come out right.
They appealed to, I think, a wider audience. I would argue that Shadows Fall was more pure metal, whereas Lamb of God, they had a lot more influences going on there than just than like straight metal, and so it was a bit more accessible, and the grittiness of it.
Yeah, I watched Philadelphia. Well, at that time, I watched Philadelphia so many times, man, and I cannot find a single error on the live performance. Like a note that they skipped, a drum beat that was sketchy.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that group of guys, they really were able to do a lot, but. I mean, that record that got me into them, Ashes of the Wake, I think, came out in 2004. And I saw that because of Hellfest. And so that was kind of also at the same time getting that was my introduction to hardcore music. Like hardcore punk, or what I knew then as hardcore. I didn't realize that it was related to punk music.
Bro, I was going to ask you, so how did you pull away from a band which is pretty much emo...
Pop punk.
Pop
punk emo, yeah.
I mean, you guys used to do Greenbelt Drive used to do Weezer fucking covers.
Oh yeah, Weezer, Blink, and then Nudie. We also, we covered Census Fail and Finch and Taking Back Sunday.
But even that's a little, just a tiny bit, a little more heavier.
A little bit.
I remember you guys' originals. Like that's when I saw you guitar playing for the first time. And you got some parts that was pretty fucking
I think
heavy.
I had a tapping solo in a Nudie Magazine Day song, even. So yeah, what kind of changed was I was always super into heavy shit. Heavy shit to me then, which was Linkin Park, and super into Papa Roach. Super into that. And so I was already super angry. There was no doubt about that. I had a lot of deep-seated emotional things, and so I recognized when I was in 8th grade, I got into Papa Roach, and the lyrics were about broken homes and abuse, and I'm not saying that I come from a very
dude.
particularly abusive
Broken
family
Home.
by any means.
Dude,
but
Broken Home to this day. Like, I listen to the song.
It's catchy,
like,
it's heartbreaking, it's relatable, especially if you've like lost a parent or you've lost family or whatever.
Yeah, or your dad was absent.
Or your dad was absent.
That song will hit you.
Which was my case, and so.
That's so crazy, dude. You and I are so alike.
Oh yeah, dude. It doesn't surprise me at all.
I'm like finding right now how.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. You can grow many different seeds in the same soil and all end up different, right? So that transition happened early on, but it wasn't until I had gained some more guitar skills that I was able to really get into the music that I wanted to play. And also at that same time, I was I always loved Metallica. Because of like hearing it on the radio, and then in ninth grade, my buddy Lee had LimeWire, and so we download every Metallica song we get our hands on. To this day, 4-Leaf Clover is still one of my favorites.
Really?
Oh yeah, easily. Or sorry, No Leaf Clover.
No Leaf Clover.
But anyways, so there was always that vein, but then I don't know what happened. 36 was probably the number one influence because it was just right there in front of us, and I could go to 36 shows when they were here and stuff. But I was just pissed off, and so I wanted to play more pissed off music. And so going from Nudie Magazine, or from Greenbelt Drive and the Nudie Magazine Day to that band Trist.
I was gonna ask you. So these bands you're pretty much in high school. You get out of high school.
Oh, I got into Swedish death metal. That's what changed.
Yeah.
Swedish death metal is what got me into metal. It wasn't even metal that got me into metal. It was Swedish death metal.
What kind of like bands were you listening to?
In Flames.
In Flames, yeah, a lot.
And I still have the Jester tattoo. But like that band, I thought I was so special when I was like a junior in high school for being into that or finding it attractive, because it was so much different than anything I'd ever heard. And I was so turned off by Pantera and Slayer and even Megadeth and, our like really, really good music. But I was turned off to it not because of the music itself, but because I wanted something fresh and new. And to me, that represented old metal.
Stuff.
Yeah.
You just looked at it as like, well, this sounds like... I know who they are. I know they're like old school bands. But... did you ever try to give it a chance to like really dig into it?
Didn't. I was way too full of myself then.
That's exactly how I felt about Pantera. Like, I've heard that name even back when I lived in Colombia. I was like, oh, you listen to Pantera? And I just thought that even the name...
it's kind of a weird name.
Kind of silly. It's just Panther. I'm like, Panther? That's your band name? I'm like, that's just not even creative. I don't even think they have a reason why they call it Pantera. From everything that I know about Pantera.
I've heard a couple different stories regarding the origin of that name.
I 100% didn't even give it a chance just because I knew it's kind of old school, and it wasn't until Garrett...
that was my attitude. I wouldn't listen to Dio. Excuse me. I wouldn't listen to like anything old. I didn't want anything to do with it.
I get it, man. I was kind of... that's so funny, dude. I was kind of in the same boat. I didn't get into Pantera until Garrett Hayford, Adam's my first guitar player brother. He showed me Revolution's My Name. And I was like, when he showed me the intro, I was like, is that a guitar? He was like, yeah, man, that's a guitar. I'm like, just this wow with like heavy distortion. And then he got this open chord. And I was like,
that's
Pantera?
Yeah.
68. I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's who I've been avoiding for fucking years. Listen to the album, the Reinventing the Steel. And just like
which is one of their heaviest,
is their last one, and I mean
probably the heaviest record they ever made.
And kind of like every time you find a band that you like, you just start going back in time. Like, all right, well, let's check out this album. Then the ones before that.
I didn't have that attitude, man.
Really?
I wasn't. Oh no, I was so ADD, and like I wanted whatever gave me pleasure,
like right away.
Right away in the moment, and so. It's funny, like, so back then, so you heard Pantera in high school, you couldn't deny that is Pantera, and I feel sorry for anybody that can. But so my buddy Kyle Hallowell, he got me into Meshuggah. Well, I was already into Meshuggah. That was another thing in ninth grade too. I accidentally got into Meshuggah because of Ozfest. But Slipknot was a big changer for me because that was like the precursor to getting to extreme metal, right? Because we ended up getting into extreme metal. So anyways, this is complicated and I suck at this, but Kyle was already into a band called The Crown. which has Thomas Lindbergh from At the Gates as a vocalist in it. I know you know who At the Gates is.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
So like, I meet this guy.
Blinded by Fear.
Blinded by Fear. There you go.
Song.
Yeah. Slaughter of the Soul is like still one of the best records ever, like extreme metal albums. But so like Kyle was already into The Crown and Testament, like newer Testament, like the super heavy thrashy shit like DOA.
Isn't that crazy? Testament has like an old school Testament, and it's like so much different.
I would argue that Testament is one of, if not the greatest thrash metal bands.
Yeah.
Ever. Musically, you know, but that's I'm talking like trying to speak objectively. So anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Kyle at the same time was already into Pantera, and so he was like, oh well, if you like In Flames and At the Gates, because I thought I was so cool being in these bands, and he's like, oh no, I've heard of them, and you know, whatever. So he's like, if you like those bands, you should check out Pantera, because it's like that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
so much that they used to even In Flames used to do, I think, a fucking Hostile. They used to do Pantera covers.
Oh, they totally did Pantera covers. Pantera and Metallica were like their biggest bands. So, I eventually obviously got super into Pantera, but that will come. So, that's what she said. So, Kyle showed me Pantera, and he showed me Cowboys from Hell. He showed me the butt rock Pantera even.
Black Magic?
Yeah. And
I can't listen to that.
So he showed me Walk.
Dude, I've tried to listen to that just because I'm a Pantera fan, just so I can say that like, oh, I love that album, and I tried, and it's not good.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Pantera.
You like heavy, brutal metal. So like he showed me every album, and none of it struck me because it wasn't because it's because I didn't care. I already had this idea, this is what is the best, and this is what I'm going to set my sights on. It was There was no way around it. Well, you know, I quickly figured out that playing In Flames songs, as easy as they sound, is not easy. Same with Lamb of God. Lamb of God, Ashes of the Wake, first real metal song I ever learned. Hard as fuck.
Which song was it?
Ashes of the Wake.
Ashes of the Wake.
And so that's what kind of got me going down.
Laid to Rest.
Laid to Rest, that's what it's
Laid
called.
to Rest.
Yeah, the album is Ashes of the Wake, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought the Faded Line was one of the hardest songs I learned from.
Oh, dude.
From Lamb of God back then, and One Gun.
One Gun was my favorite song on that record to this day.
That's where my first band
name came from.
My first band's name came
That's
from.
also how I got into screaming too. Was because of what's the vocalist name of Lamb of God?
Randy Blythe.
Randy Blythe was a big influence on me. Yeah, so that's when the tide really turned, and I would say that was probably sophomore year in high school. But I was also still into a lot of emo pop punk stuff, or even heavier iterations of it, and so I'm kind of in a really long, hopefully somewhat thorough way explaining how I got from pop punk to basically like grindcore and you know things like that, death metal, and that was that turning point right there in high school. But it wasn't until I got out of school that I found other musicians that were wanting to play that kind of stuff. Because again, I probably would have ended up playing with you if I really loved Metallica back then or Pantera, but I didn't. I didn't want anything to do with it. I thought, oh, this is so much cooler. So we ended up getting out of high school, and my last year in school, so my super senior year, I met the guys from Trist, which would be Devin, Neil.
Oh, did you meet them?
Well, I mean,
outside of high school or like in high school?
I met them when we were in high school. You would have been out of high school already. I should have graduated. So I ended up joining Trist in February of 2006. And I played with them for a couple months, and there was this...
How did you... Okay, so you met them like when you were in high school?
Yeah,
like
because we were nemesis.
To, like, the music scene?
Devin and I were nemesis. I hated Devin. I'll never forget the first time I went to... A lot of people hated that kid. He was really mean, but, you know, we were young. So...
Exactly.
So, like, I met Devin. I went to one of my first... It was the first... it was a battle of the bands at Club Millennium. Subconscious was playing. Brothers Contra. You know, like, Rada, Sam Goodrich were in that band. The guys from... Scott Thorpe was in that band. So anyways, I met Devin there. He was hardcore dancing that time, and I had never seen anything like that before. I thought it was really weird and aggressive. And all I wanted to do was beat ass because I was pissed off. So I'll never forget, like, seeing him do that. And I thought that he wanted to, like, fight or something. So I went up to him and I, like, because I was huge. I still am huge. But, like, he was, like, probably this tall, and I'm 6'4" or whatever back then. And so I'll never forget walking up to him when he was doing that and just pushing him by the shoulders and just crumpling him to the ground. And so that started that. So then we.
I remember they used to have that little crew. It was him,
Yeah.
Neil, like the Asian kid Travis, kind of joined in, Justin, Constantine, right?
I don't know if he was really involved with them.
Oh, maybe not.
He was friends with Travis because of high school.
He was friends with Travis.
Because Travis went to high school with us.
Yeah. I met Justin in high school.
But yeah,
Travis.
Devin and Neil were, they. So around that time, I was getting into bands like Norma Jean and stuff like that, and so getting kind of like a more hardcore punk. Right. Well, I wouldn't consider Norma Jean hardcore punk. I would consider them hardcore, but I don't want to go there. But anyways, I was getting into more stuff like that and kind of being more open-minded about the moshing and the hardcore dancing and that style. Well, then I ended up joining that band, and then they shoved hardcore down my throat. Like it like wasn't friendly. It wasn't fun. I felt like inadequate.
Well, and they had an ideology back then. They were like the whole straight edge movement.
And I was into that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when all you guys were putting X's on your hands, and I was like, and then you were part of that, and I was like, I've had a lot of drinks with Mercy in the past, man.
Remember, you did, yes.
Remember when I used to live in the Snake Pit right there in Jewel Lake, and
yep.
you used to come over and we have a couple of drinks, and I mean, fucking those were, and then you joined Tris, and you were all about this like straight shit. And I was like,
yeah, I totally flipped.
And I always respected that. Same with like Brandon Morrow. Like he's gone through like phases, and this is what I mean. Is like you go through phases, not just in music, but also like
life phases,
human
like, person.
All
phases.
of a sudden, like you don't party anymore, and then it seems like you join this like, I don't want to call it gang. I'm just like talking shit, but like you join this gang who are like, well, we don't drink, and you're like, okay, well, I don't drink either.
Well, that's kind of what it was like.
And then I'm gonna start looking down. I'm gonna look down at like the people that don't drink.
Yeah, and that's what it was like. I mean, there was no doubt about it. It wasn't any different than anybody that was doing anything. It was all just young idiots thinking, we're right. And a lot of that was because of how I was raised, being super Christian. It made sense to me, and I thought, I already knew I was not a very productive person or, whatever, that I was already like fucked up, pissed off, whatever. That it seemed like it was more aggressive. It was more violent. It was more emotional, but still heavy. And the other thing that really attracted me to hardcore was watching old Hellfest videos and really old like Gilman videos and shit like that with Devin back in the day. And fat guys were playing. So back in the day, if you're in a metal band, you weren't fat. Fat people didn't play metal. Fat people weren't singers. I'll never forget the first time, because I wanted to be a singer in a band. And a high school friend of mine played bass in a band, and I wanted to sing in their band, and he told me that there's no way I could ever be a front man because I was too ugly and fat. And it seems terrible. Keep in mind we're young again. It's not an excuse, but it is what it is.
It's like,
and
Trevor from Black Dye like comes to mind like right away.
Right? Yeah.
Do it.
And so like seeing these hardcore bands and they're wearing camo shorts and they're tough and aggressive and angry stuck out to me because on a deep level, I'm a very gentle, kind person.
You are.
But I was young and angry, and just like any man or kid or whatever, you get pissed off or you are pissed off.
What would you say? What would you say you were angry about? Like specifically?
Specifically?
Because a lot of times young kids are angry. They don't really know what they're angry about. Like when you talk about like, well, my dad was absent. Like that's a pretty good reason to be angry about life.
That was part of it. Yeah. That was a big part of it.
So
my dad.
What do you think was like you felt angry about?
There's two, I think, penultimate things that I was angry about. The first one was my father not being in my life. And also kind of, he would come in and out of my life. Like we'd talk on the phone and then he wouldn't be there. And then, I was
That's worse. That's so much worse.
I was that kid by the phone and those sad little things waiting by the phone for the phone to ring, and the phone never ring every Sunday, right? Yeah, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And so...
Oh, yeah. I've waited for my dad in a corner for hours.
Oh, yeah. Totally. And so that was a big part of it. if not the biggest part, but there was another piece, and that was that when I was 8, my mom got pregnant with who was my sister. Her name was Carly, and Carly was born with some what do they call it? Disabilities. So basically, she had club feet, so her feet like were kind of like curved inwards, and she was born with this called Mobius syndrome. And so what this is it's the syndrome where the feeling nerves develop, but the motor nerves don't develop in the face and the throat. And so Carly was born unable to suckle. She couldn't feed. So she had to have a feeding tube and stuff. And so, we would be at the hospital all the time. And this is when I lived in Spokane, where I'm from. And so my mom flew with Carly to Seattle to get a G tube for Carly because she couldn't eat orally, so she had to have a G tube, gastrointestinal tube. I don't know if you're familiar. It kind of goes into the abdomen and it connects to the stomach, and so it directly puts food into the stomach. So, and it's generally not that big of a deal, but Carly was already very unstable, and so what happened was not too long after that, the stress became so great that she died in her sleep. And so I was 8. I'll never forget the day. I'll never forget. It was May 1st, 1996. I'll never forget the color in the air. I'll never forget the way the light filtered through the doorway into the hallway, where I heard my mom, crying, but also like had this like air of happiness in her voice. I didn't get it, and then I heard her, "Oh, Carly, oh, come on, Carly." And I thought, oh, maybe my sister's like feeding, or maybe whatever. And so I walk in the room and she's holding her, and she's dead. And so that was like, that's when because I was raised really religiously, that's when I lost faith in God. That's when I completely lost faith in everything I'd been taught, told, whatever. I was such a happy kid, and it just all went by the wayside. I was like a straight A student, super intelligent, smart, able to apply it. I had, I have ADHD, so I had issues focusing, but medication helped and therapy helped. Well, after that, everything went by the wayside. I got super depressed, and then not too long after that's when we moved up to Alaska to be with family. So those were the two big things that had me so upset.
You moved to Alaska, place that,
and then coming here where everybody fucking hated me for no reason.
Well, and come to a dark, cold place for fucking a good like 6 to 8 months.
And I got super fat. I used to be really tall and skinny when I was a kid, and I got really fat and depressed. And but my mom raised me herself, and I wasn't easy to raise, and she didn't have a lot of help aside from my 2 aunts, who were wonderful, were close. But
when do you think you like overcame that? If you ever did, actually, do you think you still hold on to like your anger about your dad, your anger about your sister?
No.
Your anger about religion because of what happened?
Yeah, I don't even carry that anymore. I think what I'm most angry about now is myself, right? And how I view the world, or my shortcomings as a person. And that's where the music came in, though. That's the beauty of those things that I, even in words, I can't ever, we could never put into words how we feel about our dads, or why we do the things we do, and we just do it. And so that's music saved my life. And people say it all the time, but
I was just gonna say, people say that shit all the time, but
it literally has saved my life and continues to.
Everybody who has ever said that has a story like that they could have gone left or right.
Or like our story, where no matter how old you are, thinking about your dad makes you want to cry.
No, it makes me sad hearing you say about your dad, because the
feeling.
I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And
when you feel like you're inadequate, or because this person that you love, that's supposed to love you just because, doesn't. And so that
wait till you're a parent,
something to a person.
Wait till you're a parent, buddy. Then those feelings hit you even harder, and they'll make you fucking angry for a long time until like they don't, and you're like, and they grow up, and then you start to think about your dad and start to like giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I've gave my dad a chance to basically explain himself.
Oh, really?
Like, why wasn't he around?
Yeah.
And I would be like, why weren't you around when right now I would die and kill to be next to my kid, and I was right there, and you just wouldn't. Yeah. I would wait for you in a corner because you were supposed to pick me up. And
I think that's where us as individuals have to realize that you finally realize that it had nothing to do with you. That it had everything to do with this person who was just incapable. Whereas, like, you're capable and, like, you've taken that responsibility regardless of anything else.
Yeah,
right?
And, everybody goes through their own troubles and tribulations, and, he did, and...
Yeah, we do.
And
I got mine.
He had paid for a lot of the things that he had done, and, I'm not happy about that. Like, I never wish that...
Only paid in the sense of not having a son.
Yeah, well, in a way, like, we're good now, but he missed out in everything, He missed out in how I grew up, and he missed out in, like, my kids and all that. So right now is, we're making up, well, he's trying to make up a lot of that, but, when you're growing up without him, with a person, and now that I'm 34 years old, man, it's like, if people knew how important dads are, and people say, well, you could have a male figure, a coach, a music teacher, right? And it's like, it's not the same. No, man, like a dad, your real fucking dad makes a man
figure who is there. That's not just your mommy. Like, I don't know, you're a dad. So, I would even ask you, like, you're a dad. You've been a dad for what, 10 years now?
10 years, man.
Salem just turned 10.
10, and my other kid turned 6.
Yeah, and they're both super smart girls. They're both good kids. Like,
and they're happy, like, the only way I can tell that I'm, like, doing a somewhat of a good job is that they're both happy all the time. That they play around, and I always just hear laughter.
Yeah.
I always hear them screaming and just, like, cracking up.
And then there you are, and they working your ass off.
They come up to
make
me.
That happen, right?
They come up to me randomly. Like, I don't be like, "Hey, come here, give me a hug." No, I'll be just like playing Xbox or like be on my phone, and they'll just come up to me and tell me, "I love you."
That's so beautiful.
And they do that shit all the time.
My little cousin's 6, and she does that, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. My mom says I did it when I was a kid. I don't remember it. I remember being pretty quiet, but that is when they do it on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's when you really do know, because, we've been kids before. Kids aren't stupid.
No.
So if you're not doing a good job, they probably don't want to be around you, right?
No, exactly.
So, yeah, and so that kind of answers my question, is it's like, the things in that past happened, right? But it's like, now, look what you have. Like, because you went without, now you work your ass off.
To never be that way.
To never be that way. And to make sure that not only that you're there with them, but also that you can provide them with something more than even what you had, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been like what'd you call it? Not a gypsy, but, the gypsies just move around. Mm-hmm. They don't stay settled. That's kind of how my life had been. 34 years old. Probably as of late in the past 4 years it's been the most still I've been. That I've been at one place. I have a family, and things have been pretty steady. Mm-hmm. My job, my band, my kids. But all my life has been just constant change. Like every year, every 2 years, drastic change.
Up and go. Yeah.
But hey man, we're coming up here in an hour, so let's wrap this up, man. I appreciate your story, man. That is really fucking... It's so crazy how many things we have in common, man. Like,
it doesn't surprise me
growing up. No, I guess it doesn't.
Only because the experiences I've had in life, because I am kind of a life nerd. Uh-huh. I've had to grow a lot to get where I am, and I know you have too, and we all have, and the reason why it doesn't surprise me is because of where we come from, mm-hmm. Musically. Right. I think that's why it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's like in a sense it doesn't surprise me. In another way, kind of, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
But it kind of makes sense of things of why I have this I just kind of gravitate to you when I see you, or as far as friendship goes. Yeah. We know a lot of people.
There's a lot of love there, but there was also a lot of competition and hate there too. They're
well, no, I didn't hate you. I mean, but
you never hated me.
We were competitive back in high school.
And I was a dick to you. So on multiple occasions,
I think you hung out with Scott Bell too much, man, and that robbed on you a little bit. Because you guys, we used to make little comments of he's just using that wop head all the time, whatever. or make fun of, like, whatever. I mean, one of the reasons I hated Scott Bill is because I auditioned for a Battle of the Bands, and I remember playing and looking at them, and they were fucking laughing at me.
Well, you guys beat the shit out of us, so it didn't even matter.
Oh, eventually I came back with fucking vengeance.
Well,
dude.
you guys, like, dude, okay, so before this hour is up, like, we'll set the record straight, just so we're sure. There is no doubt in my mind that Murderer's Justice beat Greenbelt Drive at that show, but it's because you guys had so much passion, and there was so much that made me step it up in a big way, because I recognized the big time that music that I was playing wasn't my music, right?
No, it wasn't.
That it wasn't my scene, that it wasn't my crowd. And, to this day, I go to a Cooch show where, we have our metal shows here in Anchorage for the most part, and I have my family of people that I have literally known for 15 plus years that, have watched me change, and I've, grown and whatever. But in the end, we're still in the same shit for the same reasons. It hasn't changed.
No, exactly. Fucking love metal, man.
Always.
Love music.
Love music.
Every time we play, and it's so cool that, like, we've known each other since like 2004, 2005, and we're still playing shows together.
Yeah.
I know, obviously,
more.
right now this year is fucked
It's
because
been super fucked.
It's been doomsday.
I just want more Decepticide Pantera. Like, I mean, your guys' music is great, and you guys do what you do, but there's for me, being a latent Pantera fan, because I'm like, fucking, I love Pantera, and being able to experience something that I would never be able to experience live,
right,
with a band that, like, you guys aren't Pantera, but like I would put Ryan up against Phil any day.
Well, now, because Phil is old and his voice gone to shit.
But Ryan's such a good vocalist, and you, more than anybody I think I know, you love Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah.
Like, so there's love there. It's not just angry guys.
Yeah, we don't
music.
cover it because it's a cool song. Like,
and you're not still into those bands because of whatever. It's because that's what you love. And so, being a person who's gone through all these different phases, I will always look at people who have been more consistent about where they put their time and their energy, right? Because I'm so off in space. That's just how I am as a person. And
I mean, it's like, even when you went from 12 O'Clock High, which, I know it sucks that we're kind of running out of time. We didn't talk about, like, which we got to do another.
Do part 2.
Yeah, we have to do, like, more. But you have gone through so many different bands, and you had one of my favorite bands you were in was 12 O'Clock High, and now you play in a band called Devil Witch, which is probably one of my favorite bands in Anchorage now. We don't have a lot of metal bands anymore.
No,
but,
we
like,
don't, yeah.
Devil Witch
is fun.
It's just fun, dude.
It's rock metal.
It's rock.
It's like
rock metal.
It's what we came up on.
Exactly.
Yeah, getting back to that's been cool. I've also, so people don't know this because we're super quiet, and I'll keep this really short. How much time do we have?
Just go ahead and rip it.
Okay. So she is actually worked on stuff. We wrote 6 songs last year that nobody knows about. Well, actually 8 songs that nobody knows about. 2 of which are in the vein of older She, and then the other 6 are like straight up, I can honestly say this to the Alaskan Metal community, music community, this is the heaviest thing that's ever come out of Alaska.
Oh, I believe it, because one, you're playing guitar. Andrew's
vocals, Rada's on drums, but we don't have
maniac.
We don't have bass on these songs, so they're inspired by Pig Destroyer. So it's straight up grindy death metal, tuned way down. I tuned down to A sharp. So it's
Are those strings just fucking?
Oh, they're huge, floppy, big old things. So
just fucking pasta
and so
noodles.
that'll be coming out at some point, hopefully next year. I kind of had a falling out with those guys. We had some stuff happen, and it's all been taken care of.
Everything worked out.
Everything's okay.
Awesome,
it's just,
man.
I did friends with people for a long time.
I did hear about something about that.
And you go through shit. Like, I'm a really dramatic person, and I have my own issues that tied into all of that, and a lot of it was my responsibility. But in the end, I'm super excited about that. So me and Rod are actually getting together this next week to start taking care of that. Jay Cost is back in Alaska. There's that. Obviously, Andrew lives here. So there's that part of my musical life that's happening. But also there's Sundrowner, which nobody knows about because that's still being built. But that's me and Avery Irish on drums. And then Jacob D on bass.
I don't think I know him.
And yeah, you do. He was Duchess bass player, curly hair,
Maybe.
You know him, you just don't care, and it doesn't matter. He's a very close friend, and so we're doing a project called Sundowner, and what that is it's like, it's everything that I never did with She that I wanted to do with She. So it's the softer, heavier, fluffier side.
They might hear you, man. They might find out you said that. You didn't say that out loud. Well, right on, man. Fucking A, man. Thanks for fucking coming, man.
Dude, we'll do it again, I'm sure.
Hopefully we got to do part 2, 3. So many things to talk about. We didn't even talk about the world. Because the world is shit right now.
The world is total shit right now.
I also,
next time I want to get, because we have this, because we came up together, we got to go into going the change of guard from Murderous Justice to Decepticide. Because Decepticide's been a band for over 10 years now.
13 years.
13 years, and She turns 12 on Halloween. So there's that whole other portion, which takes up more of our lives.
I got a rule about that. If you quit playing for a few years, you don't get to count those years.
Oh, okay.
This episode has been together and playing together for 13 years. Straight years,
yeah. Whereas She, we've taken breaks. We've played intermittent shows, especially, actually, we're Lord Free 8. We played in Seattle a few times. Yeah, but you are correct. Yes.
All right, brother.
Cool,
well, thanks for coming.
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Mercy Dean.
Enzo. I don't know your middle name. Do you have one?
No, I don't. Bye, everyone.
Woo!